Okay, so we're gonna have a little bit of a look now how we play the simplest mechanics in Team Yankee. It will say we will do some moving, some shooting, and we will also be doing some moral checks if necessary. What we have set up here is called Tank 66. It's from the book. It's where Bannon is by himself, he's got isolated from his unit, and all of a sudden 3 Russian tanks are coming up on him, and a desperate fight ensues. So that's a scenario that is in the books, and I recommend everybody to try that at one point today when you start, just to get a few easy pointers, how it works basically. So what we're gonna do here, Bannon will start on having the first turn. He can't move this first turn because he has problem with his engine and so on. But he sees these 3 Russian tanks coming up and decides obviously, yes, okay, I must shoot. Bannon have a rate of fire, the M1 have a rate of fire of 2. So I will shoot with 2 dice. We check the ranges for how far away it is. And we can see it's just above long range, it will say 16 inches. Now, on an M1 tank, they have laser rangefinder, so you won't modify the to hit chance with the usual +1 for long range. So that's not a worry. Though, as we can see, oops, comes a building down. We have hedges, walls and stuff in the way. These are all short terrain, so they only give concealment. If the entire buildings or woods were in between, then you couldn't see them basically. That's called tall terrain. So he has 2 shots. Basic to hit value on these Russian tanks are 3. Covered by short terrain like the walls and hedges, 4. So he needs 4s to hit. He rolls, and he rolls a 3 and a 4. So 1 miss and 1 hit. He used that as the target. No, he actually used the leader tank as the target. He can see that one seems to be a little bit more in command. So he chooses that as the target, the middle tank there. Now the Russians feel, I'm not too keen to get my commander shot out in this early stage of the game. While you have sort of everything have mission tactics in this game, there can be awkward moments where there may be nowhere close enough to take over or something similar like that. So you don't want to risk hitting leaders if you don't have to. And there is a rule called mistaken identity, where you can actually swap hits between the tank that the shooting player allocated the hit to, and in this game the shooting player is allocating the hits. You can roll a die, and on a 3+, you can actually swap hits. So the Russian wants to swap over the hit to this other tank here. And since he has none, that would mean that the commanding tank gets no hits on him. So he rolls a 5, and that hit goes over to this tank, poor tank instead. If both of them had been hit, then it wouldn't be necessary to do this. But since it was only like this, it was an advantage there. Okay, Russian front armor on T-72 is 16. The M1 has 20 in anti-tank. It's still long range, so you get +1 on the armor for the Russian tank. So it's 17 against 20. He rolls a 1, which is obviously not good for that tank. 2+ firepower on the 10.5 gun on the M1. He rolls a 6, boom goes the first T-72. So 1 down, 2 to go for Bannon to survive. Okay, next turn. The Russians are still okay. They have 2 operable tanks, not bailed out, not destroyed. And as long as you have 2 tanks, you're in good spirits and don't need to roll a morale check. The Russian says, if we fire from this position, to hit the American tank is 4+, it's 5 for the concealments. No, and we have plus on the armor, front armor as well. So we probably should try to get a bit closer, which is risky because in Team Yankee you actually have different bog check values to cross terrain for different tanks. And it said straight on the unit cards, like these, and they say cross. T-72s have 3, the M1 have 2. So if you roll more than 3, you're fine, but under that you will bog. So we start with the commander. He wants to move, and he wants to move a tactical move, it will say under 10 inches or under. He rolls for his bog. He rolls a 2 ouch. He managed to get bogged. His compatriot tries to cross. He rolls a 3, so at least he manages to cross. And can go up to 10. He still wants to stay in command, otherwise he risks to go. You can go out of command when you're doing a tactical move, but it gets +1 even harder to hit, and they don't need any more problems with hitting right now, the Russians. They want to secure a kill, preferably this turn, before Bannon can shoot back again. So they need to be 6 inches between them, which they are there. That's okay. The bog tank can't shoot, of course, but his friend here can shoot. He's up towards the hedge. He can see straight towards the M1. So he gets to hit on a 4+. And it's short range, so it's not anything extra on the armor, front armor on the M1. He hopes and prays for a 4 and rolls a 3. Not quite what he wanted there. Okay. We check there is nothing particular more happening than that this turn. Goes over to the American. He can easily squeeze off 2 shots now, would be hitting on 4s. And he will try that. 2 6s, wow. 1 there, that was the target tank, and 1 on the bogged out one, which is still long range. 16 against 20. 5, he is okay. And this one have 17 against 20 because it's still long range. 20, so he gets a bailed out check as well. So Bannon rolls his 2+ to get him bailed out and scores a bailout on him as well. Now over to the Russian next phase. The Russians got away quite well from this one here. It could have gone worse. You would have counted on them. Bannon will try one thing now. They're fixed before we go to the Russian phase. They will try to do a shoot and scoot move, which is a skill test to move further 4 inches. 3, we look at Gannon skill, which is 3, which means he pops in behind the corner here to get a little bit better vantage point. Russians, in this game in Team Yankee, you automatically free yourself from bog after a phase. But he still needs to get rid of the bailout.
Check first. They've only got 1 tank operation.
Technically, yes, they would. So you're right about that. Because the unit would be morale checking first. They would have a morale of 3+, which they would roll a 2. So actually the Russians would scoot off. Let's say that didn't happen now. Bannon survived that one there, so we know that. Let's say that didn't happen. We roll for his bail, which is a 3, and he have remount of 3, so he's okay. So he will be still standing like this. Let's put him a little bit further back there. Okay, from him it will be too little to see on Bannon from there, so he has to move to shoot. He can still shoot concealed. So he once again try to cross, makes it, goes over to here. He just stands still. So 2 shots concealed on 5s. The Russian still keeps missing. For Bannon's sake, now what they will do, he will actually try and do a shoot and scout from himself. He has skill 5, so they're not as flexible and quick with this stuff, but they might as well try it. So he roll a 5 and pushes up a little bit further ahead. This is also something you have in Team Yankee, these kind of special orders you can give. There is follow the leader, there is a blitz move where you can move a little further ahead in the start of your movement phase and different moves like that. That's something to get into as you learn the game more and more. Okay, so for Bannon now, he knows the Russians are pushed up so they can see down the road. So it's a little bit, start to get a little bit tricky. But let's face it, he wants to try to knock them out. Are they on short range right now? Yes, they are. So he needs 4s, and he fluffs it, totally. Well, he better pray and hope that he can dodge even more behind the building, which he can. How much it will help him is hard to say. Gonna sidestep too much. Not quite enough. There we go. But it still keeps him on long range for the Russians. And one of them would, can see him concealed, so it's still okay. So it's still concealment shots. The Russians said, to hell with that. We want to pursue him. We want to see him dead this turn. So they are going to try to cross and get out on the roads with tactical movement. So we start with the commander. And he again have troubles with these thick Lloydoslavian hedges that they are built here on this table. Yeah, those are really, really anti-T-72 tracks now for this. His friend makes it again. He probably should talk with a higher up commander and take over this unit later on. He goes up to here, takes care to stay in command, which can take him all the way up to here. And that gets him close to Bannon. He shoots on a 4+ and misses. Again. No, Bannon doesn't really have any, he still can squeeze off shots when he can see him clear. So best odds is just try, because he's still, now hit allocations go. As long as these are within 6 inches of each other, he's still legal target. If he couldn't see him at all, then he couldn't hit that other T-72. But he can see him, and he obviously have a good target to make as the primary target on the road. So he goes for 2 shots on 3s. I managed to hit both of them. Bam, bam. This one saves on short range. Not at all. Firepower. Badoom. The other one, which is on long range, 17 against 20, he manages to not get knocked out. But, as you know, it's a formation check in the start of his turn. And he rolled a 1 and will say, screw this, I'm off. So, well, that's basically shooting movement on the very, very simplest level of Team Yankee, just with 4 tanks. But you see, you can still do quite a lot of stuff there with just those kind of tanks. So once you get a few platoons moving, a few tanks, there are a lot of stuff you can play around with, hit allocations, use the terrain to your advantage, and so on, and try. I mean, ideally for the Russians would try to get even quicker here, swamp him and come up on the sides and stuff like that, and try to knock him out.
Clear your movement before you start rolling bog checks? In other words, when a second ago, this guy was here, the commander was here, the wingman was here. This guy, it's okay, we're both going to move. This guy fails his bogging check. Does he have to keep moving, or can he say, this guy's bogging?
Yeah, no,
yeah. I'm not going to go out in the middle of the road by myself.
No, exactly, yeah. Okay. You don't need to declare every single one before you can. As long as you keep it within legal movements for the actual team, then it's fine, I would say.
That was a very brave move right there.
Yeah.
You paid for it.
Yeah, no, exactly. But as long as...
You got one.
Yeah, as long as Bannon kept staying on long range with terrain between them, he is quite hard to hit. his armor gets better and so on, and he has the advantage, and it's not so much disadvantage as you know. As soon as the Russian can close in on him and get one shot through, he's probably dead. So it's one to stalk them and keep away from them and try to get them one after the other, basically. Very much as it would be in the real situation, or as it was in the book. So yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Anything you want to ask about?
Can you pre-measure?
Yes, you can pre-measure anything.
These are rangefinders.
Yeah. So, and as you saw with the tank guns now, they all have laser rangefinders. So pretty much the +1 for long range goes away, but you still have it for the non-heat weapons, the +1 in extra armor in front. So for Banner, for example, who was 18 in front against the Russians 22 AT, getting up to 19 makes it that much easier to survive a little bit more. Stuff like that. And obviously, yeah, so only gets hits on 5s and so on. The Russians are hits on 4s if it's long, or if it's concealment and stuff like that. So it's it does make a difference, definitely.
Yeah, and then at what point during the game you had like it looked like a partial movement phase after fire, based on a skill check. You just make a skill check for that, or?
Yes, that was the shoot and scoot rule. That's a skill check to get.
You just make the skill check and then you move how far? Like half your distance?
4 inches.
4 inches?
Yeah. So it's just a short little dodge move, basically.
Take a
you
shot
can
and then
try.
displace
Yeah,
it
exactly. Yeah, it's a bit comparable to Stormtrooper move in Flames of War.